nose again, Cece?
I really don't. This is awkward. Anyways. Hey guys, Cece here. Welcome. I have a discussion video for you guys with GameOverJesse and CosmicSolGaming.
What is up,
And
people?
Hi, everybody.
and we're here to talk about Breath of the Wild. Yay!
Alright, so we were talking about the new trailer that was coming out. Or that came out, sorry.
Yeah. So, to kind of make it quick, in the trailer, we seen what looked to be Hyrule Castle Town being burnt down by the Guardians and completely destroyed. Uh, Most people think this is one of the scenes that's going to take place in the past to kind of tell the story of what happened to the world of Hyrule. And the scene itself looked awesome, but I absolutely hated it because as soon as I seen it, I knew it meant there was potentially going to be these hundreds of different houses inside this village or inside Hyrule Castle Town that they spent all the time making, and there's all the people and stuff, but we're not going to be able to experience any of that in the game. Like if you think about Ocarina of Time, if you think about Hyrule Castle Town in the adult part of the game, and then the child part, where in the child part you could go around, talk to people, do the mini games, go inside some of the different houses. There was all the fun stuff to do. In the adult timeline, everything was just destroyed. There was nobody there. You couldn't do anything. So with this game, it's basically the same, except you're just getting to experience the part where you can't do anything. Potentially, there could have been like dozens of different side quests or NPCs or houses you could go into, explore all this fun stuff, but you don't get to do any of it. Even though Nintendo made all of the houses, you can't go and explore any of them. So that's the biggest thing for me that disappointed me. So, yeah, what about you guys though?
I'm I have a love hate relationship with the voice acting that's supposedly going to be in this. One thing that really intrigues me is I think voice acting is going to be amazing. I think the whole game, if it's voice acted, will be awesome to actually get like a more of a in-depth feel for the characters. My only issue with it is Nintendo it switches out these voice actors. Over time, these voices are going to become bland. They're going to be new people that we don't care about, and it's going to go downhill. Where if let's do like Uncharted series, it's always are voiced by the same guy, and we all love Nathan Drake for the adventures that he goes on. But if Nathan Drake got a new voice actor, what would our feelings be for that voice actor? You know what I mean? It kind of would change the personality with it. So I'm hoping if they do go with the voice acting, that they maintain and keep their same actors ongoing, kind of like they did with Mario, Luigi, Wario, him.
That's actually
Hmm.
a really great point, but one way they could get around that is obviously Link, his voice actor isn't going to change because he may not even really have a voice actor except the guy that has to go in and record all the ah and ow and all the other weird stuff, like just the weird noises he makes.
Yeah,
But if there's like a game that revolves around a child Link, chances are you're going to have a child version of Zelda to match. So if they changed, say, Zelda's voice actress, who I think is doing a great job in this game, and got a little girl to play her, or changed it up, I think they could use that as making sense for it, since then you're not getting a Zelda that's an adult, you're getting one that's a kid, so it would make sense to get a different voice actor. But if they kept it going and the next one does have voice acting and it is an adult Zelda without the same voice actor, then it might feel a bit odd for some people. But at the
yeah,
same time, someone could go into Breath of the Wild and not like how Zelda's voice sounds, but then in the next one, Nintendo could get it right for that person. So there's a few different situations on why that's good, why it's bad. This was a huge problem why a lot of people didn't want voice acting to begin with because potentially a lot of people would end up not liking it. But I'm all for it personally. I like voice acting. I think they did a great job on everything except I think it was the Deku Tree's voice that sounded a bit odd. But yeah,
yeah.
what are your thoughts on voice acting in this game, Cece?
Um, I actually, okay, initially I wasn't for it. I was like, I was kind of iffy about it, but after hearing it, after the first time we heard a voice when you hear Zelda say "wake up," I fell in love with that voice right away. With this new trailer, I don't know. I really like the voice, although when I did my reaction video, I know a lot of people were like, "No, the Japanese version was better. The Japanese version was better." And then someone else posted another video of Zelda's voice in like 5 different languages, and they all sounded different. And I was confused, and then I was like, "Just sticking to English." I liked it. I thought it was really well done. I mean, I know her crying scene wasn't as dramatic as the Japanese one, and I guess that kind of gave some. I mean, I guess this is coming to my mind with Soul saying like, different impressions for us as viewers for the game. Like if they don't get it right for this one, or if they get it right for the next one, or if they change it up, or you know. So that came to my mind was different perspectives in different languages. But actually, I wouldn't even mind. I understand your point also, Soul, about the Uncharted person having that voice and how everyone thinks of that person for that voice. But also, a lot of these Zelda games aren't the same Link or the same Zelda. So a different voice would kind of make sense.
Yeah,
Because it's like, hey, that's not the same Link from
yeah. I
Ocarina
didn't,
of Time,
honestly, I didn't even
hypothetically.
think about that. The different timelines and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Good points. Um, Another thing I wanted to point out was Zelda's dad. How he says, I believe, like "save my daughter" or something like that, and
Yes.
that really threw me off because I wasn't expecting Zelda's father very rarely appears in any game. Like
Mm-hmm.
he's talked about, but he's just not there.
Yeah, like the
And
two most famous moments are, what was it? Obviously, Wind Waker is the one everybody remembers, but also I think Minish Cap was one of the first Zelda games that actually showed the King of Hyrule, which oddly enough looked almost identical to how he looks in Wind Waker. Like all the different versions of the King of Hyrule all kind of look similar. Just like all the Links and all the Zeldas kind of look similar. Even Zelda's father in Skyward Sword. Like you could say when he gets older, he could end up looking like King Daphnis in The Wind Waker, since that one's a much older version of the king. But that's just my thoughts.
it, yeah, and it makes me wonder, like, is Zelda's father going to play a big role in Breath of the Wild? Is he going to be the person that we kind of like go to? He's the one guiding us, right? Because we Link's always had a partner, someone telling him where to go, what to do, Fee, Navi, them. So I'm wondering if that's kind of what Zelda's dad's going to be. He's going to kind of be like instructing Link what he should do because he's at a distance.
I think it'll be a mix of him and Zelda herself, because from all of the gameplay that we've seen, you like if you go on and you're not doing what you're supposed to, you get that voice from your Sheikah slate from Zelda saying, "Go to this point on the map" or whatever, or at least at the very beginning. It probably won't be like that after you get off the Great Plateau, but for at least the introduction, Zelda's there to kind of guide you on your way. And I think the old man will just be there to like give you story details on stuff. Like if you go and visit Zora's domain or something, and then you head back and you talk to whoever the old man on the Great Plateau, I think he'll give you a little bit of information on Zora's domain, or he'll be like, "Oh, you've traveled to the west. Maybe there's something in the east that's important that you would like to discover," or something like that. I don't think he'll be there saying, "You need to go here, then do this and do that," because that would take away from the whole point of Breath of the Wild being able to do whatever you want to do, which is why a lot of people didn't like Navi or Midna in like Ocarina of Time or Twilight Princess, because they were always there telling you where to go and everything.
Yeah.
Um, when I'm gonna say Tetra's dad because I was reading through the chat, but when the dad in the trailer spoke, and you mentioned guiding us. Is he going to be the one to guide us? The old man from the original trailer came to my mind, and I know there were theories of him being like, oh, he could be Ganondorf, he could be Daphnis Johansson himself, blah, the King of Red Lions, blah blah. But I don't know. I guess yeah, he comes to my mind like heavily when I think of Zelda's dad right now.
What was the biggest surprise for each of you individually with the new Breath of the Wild trailer? Watching it, what was the biggest surprise for you?
Honestly, it was the Zelda's father saying "Save my daughter." It honestly blew me away. I wasn't expecting it. He wasn't even in the trailer. It was just his voice, and it was like, and it made me like think of so many different what ifs that I don't know. I was speechless, honestly.
Alright, and what about you, Cece? What was the biggest surprise for you?
My biggest surprise. Well, I was excited to see Zelda's face. That's not necessarily my like a surprise though. I don't know about surprise. Surprise. What surprises me? Um, I don't know if surprise is the right word, but I was also like really excited to see multiple races show up, like the Zoras and the Gorons. I guess I was kind of surprised by that because I wasn't sure if I should have expected it or not, since they're trying to change so much about it, but at the same time trying to keep it still Zelda.
Yeah.
So seeing them like really got me excited. Like I said, not necessarily surprised, but I was really excited about them.
So, what are your guys' thoughts on? And for those watching, Sasizi, one of her recent videos, she's talking about how she wants to do a Zelda mailbag style video to where you send her questions and everything. And one of the questions that I asked, which again, you can answer this too, Saul, is with Breath of the Wild, it's right now currently the only announced Zelda game from Nintendo.
Oh
But
yes.
in the past few years, they've been working on 4 to 5 Zelda games at a time. There was, uh, I think Nintendo themselves were working on Wind Waker HD while they were also working on Breath of the Wild. The handheld Zelda team was working on A Link Between Worlds. Grezzo was working on Majora's Mask 3D. Um, or not A Link Between Worlds, sorry. Triforce Heroes was the one the team was working on. And then Koei Tecmo, or whatever they're called, was working on Hyrule Warriors and Hyrule Warriors Legends. And you could make the argument that DNA, the company that's making all of the mobile Zelda games like Super Mario Run, you could see that they're probably working on a Zelda mobile game. So after Breath of the Wild releases, all of those teams are going to be basically free with no announced games. We know Grezzo isn't working on another Zelda remake, they're working on their own unique IP, but we still don't know what the handheld team is doing. Like, A Link Between Worlds and Triforce Heroes released a long time ago, and they don't have another Zelda game they've announced that they're working on, but you have to assume they're not just sitting there doing nothing. They have to be working on a handheld Zelda game, but they haven't announced it yet. After Breath of the Wild ends, they're probably already in pre-production of the next Zelda game. So what do you guys expect from Nintendo for the Zelda franchise after Breath of the Wild releases?
Ooh, that was heavy.
Yeah.
um, honestly, I see Nintendo milking Legend of Zelda for all it's worth. Honestly, I feel like they're gonna, as much as I love the franchise and as much as I love Nintendo themselves, they're running low on resources. Um, I feel that we are eventually gonna hit a point in Nintendo's lifespan to where Legend of Zelda becomes a mockery. And so I have very, even though I'm very in love with the series, I feel like that's the direction we're going to end up going. And so I have very low expectations for future Zelda releases, honestly.
I
And
think
I feel like I'm gonna get blown up in the comments that I am. All right, go ahead.
I think with Breath of the Wild right now, like you said, you think they're gonna milk Legend of Zelda, but I think they're really, really, really milking this one in particular, Breath of the Wild. Like they're gonna try and get everything they can out of it. And if they are working on another Zelda game, I think it won't. It, of course, it's probably not gonna be announced till like a little bit later after the hype for Breath of the Wild because they want everyone to. They're trying to focus so much on this one when it comes to Zelda. What is that?
I got paid.
Oh,
YouTube sent.
okay.
They finally sent my payment. But yeah, were you finished,
And when
Cece, or
it
did you have more?
no, I was gonna say, and when it comes to Nintendo as a whole, I know I mentioned my stepdad a lot whenever we do discussion videos, but I had a discussion with my stepdad about Nintendo as a whole, and he doesn't think they're doing well either. He thinks like they might not make it much longer. This Switch has to either make it or break it for them. And I mentioned Zelda to him, and he pointed out saying like Zelda and Mario are such big titles, they would probably sell them off to other companies to make other Zelda games or something like that. And so I'm hoping it wouldn't turn into like a mockery, like you're saying. Like I do understand why you think it's going in that direction. I can see that definitely, but I'm hoping that it doesn't.
All right. I have two things on this. One for the original question, and then one to go on to what Cece's stepdad said. So, for the original question, which I guess was what I asked, I think Breath of the Wild releases at whatever March 3rd, and then E3 is just going to be a few months after that. I think whatever handheld Zelda game they're working on is going to be announced for like August or October or something like that. But before the rumored Pokemon Switch port gets
Ooh.
released. That way, because most people that are buying a handheld game, they're going to be buying Pokemon, not necessarily Zelda, unless they're just the hardcore Zelda fans. So I think they'll want to get Zelda out there specifically so it doesn't get drowned out or pushed to the side by all of the people that's spending the money on Pokemon. And it'll be another top-down 2.5D Triforce Heroes or A Link Between Worlds type game, but because of the Switch is more powerful and it has the 720p screen or whatever, it'll be in HD. It won't be like the jagged, pixely mess A Link Between Worlds and some of the other games are. And then I think we probably won't get anything else until 2018. And I think 2018 it'll be the 20-year anniversary for Ocarina of Time. So, and I've been saying this forever, CC's heard it like a bajillion times, but I think that'll be when Ocarina of Time HD gets released or announced, because it'll be in perfect timing with the 20-year anniversary. Twilight Princess HD was made on the 10th anniversary. They've already got Ocarina of Time 3D. All they have to do is literally take that same game, put it on the Switch, and allow it to render in HD, similar to how you can play GameCube or Wii games on Dolphin Emulator. You literally don't have to do anything, and it just renders itself in HD. If they did that, they wouldn't have to remake any models, they wouldn't have to retexture anything, they just need to let it up-res to HD, and then they have this big push of its 20th anniversary. And then in 2018, or possibly even later on this year, they're probably going to have their handheld mobile game, whatever it will be. I think it'll be something similar to how Spirit Tracks and Phantom Hourglass were, where they were just solely touch-based, so you just had to use the touch screen to play them. I think this Zelda game will kind of be like that, to where you can just use your finger. If you swipe it, Link will swing his sword like he did in Phantom Hourglass and Spirit Tracks, and
Mhm.
then you just hold in the direction that you want him to go. It'll literally play the exact same since they already have the engine for it. And then in 2019, I expect the follow up to Breath of the Wild to be released. Nintendo's already talked about how they wanted to take what they've learned from Breath of the Wild and make a Triforce Heroes type game, so more multiplayer focused, which again was something whenever they first announced Zelda Wii U, before it was known as Breath of the Wild. One of the very first things they said about it was they didn't want you to think of it as a single player experience. So, putting all that together, that's how I think the next few years are going to go. And with what Sissy's stepdad said, I don't think Nintendo would sell off their stuff. If Nintendo completely bombed and the Switch sold absolutely nothing, I think instead of trying to be unique in their own way, they would just default to making the same type of console that PlayStation and Xbox was. Um,
Mm.
so then you would just get something like the GameCube or the Nintendo 64, where it was just another console. There was no real gimmick for it. And then if
Mm.
that failed, then I think they would go third party. I don't think they would sell off their stuff, but I do think they would partner with Sony or they would partner with Microsoft. And that, I believe, would end up making it to where, say, if Nintendo partners with Sony, I think that would push
Mhm.
Xbox out of business because then you could buy the PlayStation 5 or the PlayStation 6, whatever it is. You get Uncharted, God of War, all of these great games, the usual third party games, but you also get Mario, Zelda, Donkey Kong, and all of this. Why would you go to GameStop, Walmart, Amazon, or wherever and buy something where you can play Halo or Gears of War over Mario, Zelda, Donkey Kong, God of War, like all of these other great games? Like, unless you're a hardcore Halo fan, it would honestly kind of be stupid to pick the Xbox over PlayStation. Or at the same time, if Nintendo partnered with Microsoft, it would be stupid to go with PlayStation over Xbox. So whoever they partnered with, it would drive the other out of business.
Honestly, I hope when if Nintendo crashes that Zelda, Mario, and all those games crash with them. And I know that's selfish. I just don't want to see the same thing happen to Nintendo's franchises that happened with Rare and Banjo Kazooie end up on the Xbox. And I I just don't want to see it.
But that was a
Mm.
completely different situation because when they went to Xbox, Rare was under the control of Xbox. If Nintendo partnered with Sony or Xbox or Microsoft, whoever, they would still be it would be the same development team making the same games. They would just be releasing on the other console. They wouldn't suddenly get bad like Rare did, where
But
Microsoft was suddenly in charge telling them what to do.
how long do you think Xbox would go for that, or Microsoft would go for that before they started taking over? I honestly, I mean, just looking at it from Xbox's point of view, they don't want to pay people to make their products when they can do it themselves. I mean, don't get me wrong, I totally get where you're coming from. I just don't see Microsoft doing that, or
But the,
PlayStation or Sony or whatever.
but that's where the partnership comes from. It's like they're not selling Nintendo to
Yeah,
Sony. They're just saying, "Hey, we'll make games and put them on your console. In return, we'll make a little bit more than if we was to just go third party." Because like the way the Wii U was, I think, well, I was watching an interview and someone was talking about how even though the Wii U was doing as poorly as it was, everybody was saying Nintendo would make a lot more money and they would have more freedom if they just went third party. That way, their games would be on PC, Xbox, PlayStation, and they would sell a lot more copies. And the other argument against that was even with the Wii U's low sales, Nintendo makes more money selling, say, 2 million games on their own console than they would if they sold 10 million for PlayStation and Xbox. So, like, it kind of weird, but where PlayStation or Microsoft would be getting a huge chunk of whatever money was made off of the game, where they're putting it on their own platform, even though they're selling less than half of what they could potentially, they're still making more money. So, um, if they went straight third party, I think they would make a similar deal to where instead of getting 20 or 30% of whatever profits the game made, they would have it to where they get 50 or 60. And PlayStation or Xbox would take that deal because then they would have more consoles selling. So, yeah.
I think we got lost in the subject that we were talking about, though.
Yeah.
Breath of the Wild.
Yeah, Breath of the Wild.
I mean,
it's awesome. You can jump.
it's awesome.
No, so what do you? I feel like they're gonna mounts. This is something I thought about during the trailer. I know they're gonna bring back Ipana, obviously. She's signature.
Well,
But
they said there was.
um,
They said that Epona is somewhere in the world, but they didn't want to say exactly how you found her or got her because they didn't
But
want to
re-
ruin it for you.
but they also in Skyward Sword included Loftwings, and they also made Link's animal transformation in Twilight Princess mobile with monsters. I don't remember the monsters' names, but they would fly around with them.
Yeah.
So I'm
And
wondering if
Twilight.
they would incorporate that same mechanics into Breath of the Wild.
Like flying on a Loftwing?
Yeah, and have some kind of flying mount or some kind of mount carry you like they did in Twilight Princess, rather than taking Epona, like use them as a quick travel.
I think it would be really cool because then, like, you've seen how beautiful the world of Hyrule looks in Breath of the Wild, so just to be, like, really high up in the air, looking down at the landscape while you're flying over, like, huge mountains or lakes or whatever would look really cool.
World of Warcraft flashbacks.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I think it'd be awesome, but like at the same time, like, would that ruin the experience? Because in Zelda or Legend of Zelda, part of the game was the adventure, traveling on Epona through the world, or in Ocarina of Time's case, rolling everywhere as fast as you can. Would flying or fast travels be a deterrent, like a negative on the experience?
Well, I think it would be similar to, like, in Twilight Princess, you could turn into the Wolf Link, you could run a little bit faster, or you could get on Epona, and then you could go, like, twice as fast. And then over time, as you unlocked different sections of the map, you would end up being able to just warp there with using Midna. So with this game, I think it'll be kind of similar to where you start off, running around and stuff, and then eventually you get a horse after you get off the Great Plateau. And then closer to the end of the game, maybe there's a part where you do get the loft wings or something like that, and then you can fly to, like, that's how you reach the top of Death Mountain, or that's how you reach the flying thing in the sky, that giant bird guardian thing. Like, if you could just get on a loft wing and fly to it, that would be awesome.
That makes sense. That was also implemented with Ocarina of Time, so you kind of see that pattern there. Because, like, with Ocarina of Time, you had Epona or yourself running around, and then gradually throughout the game, you learned the songs to warp to different temples and things.
Plus, it would make more sense than in Twilight Princess when you had to get to the city in the sky and they just shot you out of a cannon. Like, I just thought that was dumb. So, like, if there was an actual real way of getting somewhere, then that would be cool.
Yeah.
But finish. Sorry for interrupting you, CC.
No. This actually leads me to a different question. So, since you were saying, like, as we gradually get closer to the end is when we can possibly fast travel or whatever, what are your guys' thoughts on the multiple endings? I haven't looked into it too much, but I know I've seen multiple YouTubers mentioning that this game can have different endings depending on what route you choose to take or something.
Do you want to go first,